Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L coming in to talk about Mahouka Season 2, Episode 5. Wow. Episode 5. Well, great. I'm not sure if you already saw the title, but when we come into this episode, I'm really not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. I think the problems from last week are still here. So the way we're going to do this video, we're going to talk about very quickly my dishonorable mentions, and then we're going to go into the top moments here. What I want you to take away here, though, my criticisms of the episode are really all locked in just some of the wonkiness that comes from the pacing, and the birds also agree with me. Yeah, I feel I'm ultimately left wanting with the episode. And I was going into the episode, and it was actually really funny. The first half of the episode before the battle, it felt really good. It felt reasonable. It felt like, oh, nice. We're slowing down. We're getting more information. I really enjoy this. Like, heck, you didn't really need that first scene with what's her name? I have her name written down here. Saigusa. You didn't need that scene with her talking about the chocolate, but it was a nice change of pace. Like, it was legitimately good. Then the battle starts, and it just seemed so fast, and I ultimately wasn't feeling it. Like, again, I come out of it wishing for more. I come out of it wishing that I actually cared to some degree for some of these characters. So I'm very curious, what do you guys think? Are you feeling the same thing? At the end of the day, I don't think Mahouka is a bad story. I quite enjoy reading the light novel. Or when I used to read the light novel, like, I quite enjoyed it. But this anime adaptation, I feel like someone's missing critical things here. And I think ultimately it's the pacing that's really destroying this, which is just unfortunate. So we're going to go into the episode. I'm going to try to do my best to explain what I'm feeling. And I would, if you have any comments, please leave it down below. Anyway, let's begin. Dishonorable mention. First dishonorable mention. Any kind of weirdness that is due to rushing. Yeah, that's a dishonorable moment. So there are a few weird moments here. One of my favorite ones was at the end of the battle where Jumanji is just like, hey, alright, seems this guy's gone. I'm going home. Like, he just says one line and he just turns away and walks away. And it's like, guy, you just witnessed a relatively incredible event. You just saw a woman, I assume it was a woman. You just saw someone disintegrate into fire and you're just walking away. You're not even going to sweep the perimeter. You're not going to go check anything. You're not going to get Tatsuya, who is one of the few people that can see this thing, to go and look for it. Instead, you're just going to let all these people stand around. It was just so unceremonious. It was just like, okay, we suck. See ya. That didn't have any weight. And that's ultimately, I think, a product of rushing. One of the big things here is that there just isn't weight. And then when we talk about weight, you go and you look at Lena. Lena has this moment where she has this freak out face because she just realized her friend is a parasite. And, Lena's freaking out, but for me, I'm looking at this and I'm just confused. I am so confused as to what's going on. I am so confused as to how they composed this scene. I am so confused as to everything that led up to that whole revelation. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, how are these people sensing that this thing is a parasite? Aside from Shibata, because she has the power to do it. How are these people sensing that it is a parasite? I'm assuming it's some kind of logic from Mahouka, because I did know that Lena could detect things earlier, so I'm not going to criticize that. But it's just interesting because you set this up, this grand revelation. Why is that woman looking in the computer, and why does she get a sudden message about Mia? Well, where does that come from? And what does that say about Mia in the first episode? In the first episode, even her facial expression looked different. So, if I'm looking at the first episode, and I did go back and I rewatched the first episode, I look at that, I'm thinking, it doesn't seem like she was a parasite at this point in time. But we're saying that she's the White Mask, and the White Mask appears in that episode, and you have Lena's shocked face in this episode. And it reminds me of what I said last week. I don't care about Lena's relationship. Like, as a watcher, as a sympathetic person, I can say, oh, I care about Lena. If it sucks that her friend maybe died. I think died. I don't know how the whole burning up thing works. They said self-destruct, but it's honestly, the word doesn't match the visual that I'm seeing. But okay, sure. Lena's friend died. But here's the thing, that person, I went back episode 2, episode 3, episode 1, and I know episode 4 because we watched last week. Mia's in only episode 1 for 4 minutes, and the majority of their conversation revolves around Tatsuya. When Lena has a freaked out face, there is no weight behind that. I don't care. If you want to go look at an example at how to make one-off characters feel worthwhile, Danmachi. I feel like really Danmachi, adaptation-wise, on a technical level, much better than whatever Irregular is doing. Because at least with Danmachi, I know I'm going to feel something when I see some characters get dusted, right? So coming back into this, to some degree, I am absolutely baffled at what they're doing here and how they're going about this. And now I want to say, if Mia actually was a parasite from the very beginning, and again, I don't know what information changed to be able to give that information to Lena at the right moment. I don't know what changed. But if Mia was a parasite from the very beginning, I'd question why couldn't Lena sense that, given that everyone and their mother could sense it when this girl crossed into the boundary with the truck. And that's another thing. There's a lot of more weird things that come out of this, out of the rushing. One, I would love to know why Tatsuya is up on the roof with his sister and the other girl, Hinoka, and why they're both holding on to his arms. I would love to know why they're doing that when it's cloudy outside, it's about to rain. Why are they sitting outside, and why does Tatsuya seem like he's a pimp just with both of those girls on his arms? Right? What led up to that situation? Is it because of the Erika drama? And in regards to the Erika drama, thank you for showing me that there was something going on with Erika and Tatsuya, because I wouldn't have known, right? We wouldn't have known. That's the big issue. We don't know. And they're just doing random things, and it's not working. Whatever they're deciding to prioritize, it's not really working, except for the first half. Again, the first half was a nice change of pace, but that battle, everything around it just got really worse. Speaking of another thing, from what I understand, Mia is an exchange student at the university. I don't understand why someone would let this person come by herself for something that I understand is relatively important, unless this was subterfuge. But it seems like this was a university sanctioned thing. I don't know. That might be my own fault for not remembering the setting, but it's still, you only send one person to do this job from the university. That seems pretty odd to me. That seems like there's some pretty obvious skipping of content going on there. And one more, another thing, the moment that thingamajig Mia disappears into fire on the self-destruct, I think that would have been a great time to have Lena actually have her inner monologue of oh shit, my friend just died. Just confirm that for me, please. There's one thing Mahouka is. It is firm. It is really firm in the details. And you can really tell that at the beginning of the episode when they're going into this entire tangent about the nature of magic, which I really loved. I love that whole thing about the nature of magic, and it comes from another dimension. You had so much time to have that scene. You know what? That scene was very easy to animate. That was a very easy animate scene. That's probably why we lasted on it for so long. Because I was thinking I was going at double the speed, and it took quite a while to get through that first explanation of black hole physics, or how a black hole could cause parasites to come through. That was a very long explanation. I think there are some baffling choices here, and those are just the choices that come from the rushing. There's more stuff. I think the battle in its entirety, aside from Mikihiko, was stupid. And it all comes down to this shot right here of the relative distances for people. See, it is very interesting in this battle that you have Tatsuya seeing that he can see the outline of this thing. He is relatively close by to Mikihiko, and there's no communication happening between the parties. This is a battle. Tatsuya is talking to Lena, much appreciated, and he's not talking back to Mikihiko, even though he's right there. I just feel it's kind of, I felt definitely it was kind of clumsy when you have Tatsuya saying, oh, okay, I can see this thing. Mikihiko's like, shit, I need to be able to see this thing, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to do anything. And then Shibata's like, I'm going to go in, I'm going to look. It's interesting because from my perspective, if we don't want to sacrifice the girl, Tatsuya tells him, okay, I can see a blob in this general area. Mind you, not the best, not the most perfect information, but a lot more worthwhile. Definitely a lot more worthwhile. So for that one, how do I even begin to try and justify that? The only thing that makes sense to me is that the distances weren't properly defined in the light novel, and then the anime adapts it, and they end up with this really wonky situation where everyone's really close together and really should be communicating more. Thankfully, Tatsuya is observant enough, but at the same time, given that Tatsuya is observant enough, and that's what we're relying on for Tatsuya to figure out what's going on and for him to notice the situation in the battle, it would make sense that Tatsuya would be further away than the anime depicted. Because in this case, the distance is what causes the tension. At least that's what ideally I think should be happening. But when you have everyone so close together, you take away the problem of distance. And I really want to harp on this. Distance, a lot of times, is used as a point of tension for any kind of story. And a lot of problems or in a lot of conflicts, readers are usually in a place of, oh man, I wish this character was nearby. I wish this character was closer. If you want to look at a series that really plays with distance a lot, you would look at One Punch Man. One Punch Man its tension runs entirely off of the idea that Saitama is too far away from the enemy he has to defeat. That's how that particular series uses distance, and a lot of other series use distance in smaller fashions. So when you have the situation here with that battle, it's just really awkward because of the distancing and because of the redundant information occurring. It's just kind of unfortunate to see how this unfolded in that particular regard. And I still have more points here. I still have one more dishonorable mention here. Tatsuya at the end is talking about how this was, in terms of a battle objective, this was a disgrace because they barely got away with not losing anything. And I'm gonna talk about that one in a second. But before that, Tatsuya is talking about how he should have used Gram Demolition, but he didn't. And that's just what he tells us. Okay, got you. Here's the problem. It seems like they're trying to set up what they did in the last arc, which is they're telling us that Tatsuya has a internal conflict after the fact. The point of a conflict is to see the character struggle. The point of a conflict is to see how the character is approaching it. The point of a conflict is to see how a character grows around the conflict. If you're just telling me, if Tatsuya's saying, oh yeah, I was thinking about this, and now I know I should have done it. That's as good as trivia. Because at the end of the day, the conclusion itself is as important as the journey. We want to be able to understand the pathways and the rationales that lead Tatsuya to his choice. We want to understand what causes the hesitation. We want to understand what factors are at play. Like in the previous arc, Tatsuya is talking about he's really worried about Leo, and it's like, I would love to know more about that. I would love to know more about this thing. Now, mind you, previous arc, I do appreciate that we did get to see Tatsuya actually emote a little bit more. He did seem a little bit more urgent. But when you have a character like Tatsuya who is supremely straight-faced, and it's not like Bell and Danmachi, who with Bell, he has such an animated face that you can get some kind of sense for the internal monologues. When you have Tatsuya who is straight-faced, our only way of knowing that Tatsuya is having a problem is for him to tell us, because he only has one expression: deadpan, right? What are we going to do with that particular character? It's specifically characters like Tatsuya who are stoic that need that extra little bit of monologue time. I would have loved to have seen more conflict with Tatsuya. I would have loved even a simple little segment of Tatsuya thinking oh, I could use Gram Demolition right here, but maybe I'm not gonna do it. Maybe I don't want to do this. Now, he might have reasons from season 1, but I'm pretty sure the novel would have gone over this again, because I can't see that getting through the editing process without having a proper line of thought for Tatsuya, especially because it's been a while. It's been a while since he's had an issue where he's had to use Gram Demolition. Yeah, no, that one's definitely a sticking point for me. You need to show a character's conflict. The most interesting things about conflicts are seeing how characters deal with them. You can do really creative things by showing a conflict with facial expressions, but you take that away from a character and you're really putting your character in a really bad position. Now, this is me just being a little bit sassy here, but the man talks about how this whole thing is a disgrace because they had barely just, what was the wording he used? They had barely managed to get away without injury. The end result is that we barely managed not to lose anything. Okay. So, this is a disgrace. I want to know, in Tatsuya's mind, what exactly letting a parasite get away so that he can engage in a fight with an American. I want to know what that was in his mind. I want to know what engaging in that fight and taking the time to go drive off to a river so that they can watch two girls duke it out, and then, you know, waste more time tracking down a parasite. I want to know what that is for Tatsuya. I want to know what Leo being hurt and Leo also not telling Tatsuya and the friends about the extent of his injuries. I want to know how he would quantify that. I want to know how they would quantify every single time that Mikihiko goes outside trying to find these parasites and doesn't find them. I want to know how they're quantifying all their failures, because they say that this is a disgrace. As a viewer, I'm watching a continuous series of failures, all much more catastrophic than this one. And I'm thinking, if this is a disgrace, I can only imagine how suicidal you are over everything else that you failed on, right? So that is to say that that final line doesn't resonate with me. I don't feel it. I get that you guys were pretty pushed here, but with the way that you just kind of let the whole thing die afterward, I don't have any particular kind of respect for you saying it's a disgrace. I'm looking at it now too. I'm just looking at it, and this is here's an image. I'm just gonna take a screenshot of it so you guys can see it here on my screen as well. Mikihiko was able to attack something just from the glow of red light. And I'm just thinking, if Tatsuya could see the blob, and he probably can see it with good distancing, if Mikihiko can land an attack with this level of accuracy on such a small blemish, you know, definitely Tatsuya giving him instructions would have been good too. Yeah, I'm still just looking at this one part where Tatsuya's talking about how he got away. I don't know, if I was him, I'd put him on every single perimeter. I'd have him go to all the corners, just fly around, use that magic, see if you can spot it anywhere else. Because in my mindset, that would be the most prudent thing to do. At the end of the day, when it comes to just the dishonorable mentions, it's just a lot of just a lack of weight. That's ultimately what I'm feeling. But now that's the dishonorable mentions. We spent quite a bit of time on that. Let's talk about the top moments, because there are top moments. Woo! Okay, first off, Saegusa's Valentine's Day plan. I found that really funny. I shipped the two, so I'm all for it. Again, like, you know, that beginning portion, I loved it. I thought the episode was going to be pretty great when you started off with such a nice note, blending slice of life elements with actual plot stuff. I thought it was going to be great. I think finding out about magic coming from another dimension, I think that's relatively cool. You know, initially I thought I was going to have a better topic to talk about there, because I thought we could talk about, like, well, you know, in our world, some people might say, well, magic comes from our own dimension, or, you know, your body generates whatever thing would be the use of magic. But dimension is such a loose word that it could be used to justify a lot of things, or to express a lot of different ideas. I did like how they used gravity there, because it did remind me a little bit of like string theory and the things that I read about in one of Brian Greene's book. He's a physicist. It was cool. I really enjoyed it. I think that I think it went for too long, but I do definitely love seeing science and magic coming together like this. It's always so fun to see. Let's see. I think Tatsuya noticing that Erika was avoiding him and Mikihiko like sending along the food, I think that was a nice touch. I think it was really interesting to see that there was some kind of problem there. I do hope that gets proper follow-up here, at least a better follow-up than what we got with Lena. My next top moment, Miki and Shibata, man, I ship them super hard. So when I see this moment here, you know, I'm feeling it. I think, oh, this is cute, and honestly, going into the next top moment, Mikihiko was amazing for this episode in every single way. Now, Tatsuya, look, Tatsuya is also very competent. But because Tatsuya's like the one who has to move between the parties, it's a little bit different. He didn't really have moments to shine here aside from seeing the entity, but because of the weird awkwardness. At the end of the day, Mikihiko, he's doing the best he can. I don't know why he's not talking to Tatsuya either. I assume it's just distancing issues. But he did great. He protected the girl. He was doing good stuff against the monster. I think he was the coolest one there because when you look at it, he created a lot of situations. He blocked out Shibata's eyesight so that she didn't have to have a freak out over it. He created the illusion. He was corresponding with Jumanji. He was corresponding with Erika. He's the one that noticed that Erika was in danger immediately. He's the one that was talking about it. He was the one that understood how to interact with this spiritual creature. This guy came prepared. This man like did his homework. It looked so good to see him actually do things of value. I was into it. I was into it. The next moment I had was Tatsuya being reasonable about info sharing. There was a bit where Erika was like, well, I'm not turning this stuff over to you. And it's like, whoa, it's okay. Just let me know what you find out. I don't know why people are so combative this season. I don't know why they're writing them to be so combative. Like, Tatsuya has been probably one of the nicest people when it comes to information sharing. So it's just interesting that when Tatsuya is giving away so much information that someone immediately reacts to him with a little bit of a forceful approach. I thought that was quite unreasonable, and it only really served to show that Tatsuya has a pretty clear head in this whole situation. I definitely did appreciate it. Next we had the self-destruct. I put this as a top moment because I think the anime would want that to be a critical moment, but it was just so underwhelming for me. Actually, I'm looking at my notes, and one of my notes is, should I care? Why not have Lena have a small moment of freak out to self-destruct? Yeah, that's how I felt. I think it's supposed to be a big moment for Lena. That's why I put it as a top moment, but I think it could have been done better. My last top moment was Lena explaining why the parasite went on the offensive immediately. So this was much appreciated. Thank you for explaining things, and to a lesser extent, I am happy that Tatsuya explained what had changed between the different parasite forms that he was seeing. That was very reasonable. But yeah, when Lena's saying that, oh yeah, the moment this thing loses a host, it's like it's gonna go and try to find another host. It's very autonomous in that way. It's a survival instinct. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, that's really cool. That is legitimately like 100% cool. I'm really into it. I would love to see more of that. I appreciated that, even though Tatsuya might not have appreciated her information. I think I again appreciated. You know, my favorite moments are really the communication between the characters and then Mikihiko being amazing. But yeah, man, it's just so interesting. I'm ultimately looking at this adaptation, and I'm just baffled. I'm baffled by the choices. I am legitimately curious about the light novel now. I do kind of want to go back and read and just see if I'm misjudging this and the problems are coming from the light novel. Worst case scenario, I'm misjudging the whole series, but I don't think I am because, again, you want me to care about a character that has 4 minutes of screen time, and the majority of that screen time is talking about Tatsuya. Like, no, I'm not gonna care. I'm not gonna care. You did nothing for me, man. All I know is that Mia apparently was friends with Lena or something like that. I don't know. I question everything. Man. Anyway, guys, let me know what you thought down below. I think this is what we're going to be getting for the rest of the season. Honestly, after seeing like the first 4 episodes, this is the rest of the season. I think I'm going to have to make my peace with it, but it's just going to be interesting to see how many places they're going to sacrifice in order to rush through this. And I am legitimately curious about that light novel. But man, thank God for Mikihiko. And thank God for the first scene. I feel like if they could just slow down a little bit, that would be great. Anyway, at the end of the episode, the thing gets into a body. I assume that's a robot. I bet that robot had way more buildup somewhere else, because that feels right to me. But who knows? We'll have to find out. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.